character is not being built in our kids to prevent a kid from calling another kid the N-word and stuff like that, and to prevent from fights breaking out and things of that nature.
I think there's a lot of character development going on, especially in this situation on both ends.
Because my man learned not to say that word.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Character was developed. Character was developed that day. Okay? There was some
a classroom can look different.
Okay?
The classroom.
You learned your lesson. You learned that you can't say what you want to say to people.
Right.
You learned that if you say something, you got to be ready for it to come back to you and be prepared for it.
And he learned how to take a cat nap.
You know what I'm saying?
All in one day.
You know?
Yo, welcome to the cave with Mel, Troy, and Lace. The podcast where men can have a safe space. We on all platforms. You need to tune in. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Welcome to Melody, the podcast where men can have a safe space. Welcome to Melody. Welcome to the cave with Mel, Troy, and Lace.
Why we gotta have multiple events when we can just have one motherfucking family dance and call it a day? You come do your cha-cha slide and sit the fuck down.
It's not like this.
Wait. Hold on. What up, y'all? It's your boy T.Roy. It's Wholesome Troy. If you need some hope, I got something you can borrow. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow.
What it do? It's your boy Dr. Life Coach Lace, a.k.a. NBA Old Boy, a.k.a. I'm him, a.k.a. Mr. Big Shot, a.k.a. the Menace No Relation to Dennis.
What's going on? It's your boy Melly Mel, a.k.a. Melly Badass, a.k.a. Meek Mel, a.k.a. your favorite truth teller, a.k.a. if you don't want to know,
don't ask me.
Okay, so I am going to ask you. I just stepped away for a moment to
Yeah.
go use the bathroom, and I walk back in, and there's a brouhaha that is happening in the studio, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. What was y'all talking about?
Bruh, it's not even that deep. I was just talking about. I mean, it don't feel like it. It's not that deep to me, but at the same time, it is. We was talking about because I said I was going to a daddy-daughter dance tonight. And then Lace was like, "Oh, I didn't even know that they still did those." And I was like, "Well, they really don't. It's technically a family dance." And I said that it pisses me off. And he was like, "Why does that piss you off?" And I said, "Because I feel like we shouldn't have to dim the light on father-daughter relationships just so that we can ensure that others don't feel left out just because they may not be privileged to be in that particular situation." And he went on this rant of how we just need to be.
Why I gotta be a rant?
I
didn't go on no rant.
He went off on this rant about how we just need to be inclusive, and
that's not what I said.
And they worried about the budget, and they worried about the budget, and we shouldn't be worried about what other people think because, you know, he just went off saying a bunch of stuff.
That is not what I said. What I said was, it is intriguing to me that one has the mindset of somebody else dimming a light on something when you carry that light.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a active relationship, which you do, and are present, you show up, all of that, the title of the dance is irrelevant. Who is at the dance is irrelevant. And we also have to consider, too, what I said from a budgeting standpoint, because this is a school system dance. Instead of having 50 dances, we having one. Call it a family dance. And if daddy want to show up, great. If you ain't got a daddy, show up with your grandpa, whoever, your uncle. If you ain't got none of that, show up with your mother, whatever your family dynamic is. That's all I was saying. I was just trying to understand why you were so upset about not being called daddy.
I told you why it pissed me off.
Okay, that's all I was
But
asking.
you saying from a budgetary standpoint, they sell tickets.
No,
so
what I'm saying, what I'm talking about is the time, place, all of that. Obviously, if anybody in their right mind, and we know the school system generally has budgetary issues and concerns, like let's not act like that's not a real thing. What I'm saying is instead of having multiple dances, just have one. That's all I was saying. And call it whatever.
So they have one for the kids and let the kids come out there and dance.
They could do that too.
They
could do
so
that
then
too.
Just have a kids dance. Have a school dance.
Right, but you can go out there, call it daddy,
but
daughter.
I'm saying,
go out there, do the cha-cha slide, and do everything else you gonna do, and call it a day.
All I was saying is the consistent emphasis to create situations where we're trying to make others feel like they're not left out. So when I say dim a light, it's like, oh, we can't talk about father-daughter dance because there could be a girl out there who don't have a daddy. So then we can't
That's
shed
always
light.
gonna be the
we
case.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So that, but the conversation is like, oh, we can't shed light on father-daughter dance because Sally Sue or whoever don't have a dad. So in order for them to feel like they're not left out, we have a family dance so that you can come and do whatever, which I understand you want them to feel, included and that you want them to have an experience. But I don't feel like we have to, I'm not going to say rob. I don't think rob is the right word, but it's like we're just how it's the same conversation I was having about saying Merry Christmas versus Happy Holidays. It's almost like the avoidance of emphasizing the light for active father-daughter relationships because one person may not be able to experience the same. And as we go through life, everyone's not going to have the same experiences.
Correct.
Life isn't fair. And plenty of daddy-daughter dances where the dad who comes may not necessarily be the dad,
right?
of the child. So an uncle or grandparent or whoever is available, can come to the dance, and it's still, in essence, I'm just talking about robbing of the essence of these things because they don't exist anymore. And it's not because people want to have a budgetary one fell swoop. It's literally to avoid the exclusion of those who may not be privileged.
Yeah,
to
I'm
be
not a part of the
situation.
PTA, so I don't know how they came to that decision.
That's all I'm saying.
So because you talking about they've been, speaking about how the decision, et cetera, was made. I was more so trying to have a understanding and give reasons as to why it could have been whatnot. But yeah.
Now, from an outsider's point of view, and I would just question if it moved from daddy-daughter to family dance, and people are aware that it was like, okay, this is what the daddy-daughter transferred from daddy-daughter to family, and people still show up with somebody who is not a father. Wouldn't the kids pick up on, oh, my dad's not with me type of thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, if I already came with the concept of this is a daddy-daughter dance for me, but for them it's going to be a family dance, and they show up with their mom, they would come and still some type of feeling excluded. So it's not really a way of avoiding the exclusion.
Oh yeah,
I don't think a lot of them kids worried about that when they get to the dance.
It's really, the kids probably don't care.
They don't.
Quite
and when they get there, they just.
But I'm just more so speaking on and what I have learned, if you will, over some time is I control my light. Can't nothing, nobody dim my light. And I'm not doing this for particular acknowledgement or whatever, because I have to do what I have to do for mine, period.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. So I just don't, that aspect just doesn't resonate with me.
I get you.
From that particular standpoint, because I don't care. And it's not from a not caring about other people's experience. It's more so lack of, well, I know my life shine because I'm present. You know what I mean? So whether you call it the manly deeds dance, that you know what I mean? Like I said, we gonna do this 2-step cha-cha slide and keep it pushing.
Yeah.
I appreciate your liberality, Lace. we need that. We need that in the world.
You're right.
Speaking of kids, though, I do have a question, because a lot of these have been popping up on my timeline of these high school coaches popping off in these games to the point of where the coaches are fighting each other. I've seen in some instances where coaches are attacking kids. Like, who are vetting these coaches to be over these kids?
Mel on the PTA. he running through all of it on the PTA.
Like, who is vetting these kids? And not only that, like, well, and what are they teaching their players? I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure you saw this one. It was a team. I think a shot went up. Black kid turns around, knocks homeboy out. His homeboy comes up to him, gave him the business to knock both of them out. So I go to the comments, because that's the first thing I always
that
do.
one.
Huh?
I double tap that one.
I went straight to the comments to try to figure out what's going on. So the first 3 comments, these are hoodlums, these are hooligans, they shouldn't be allowed, blah, 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 blah. And then somebody gets some context. It was like, well, this kid in the game called this other kid the N-word, and he didn't take kindly to it, and so he handled business, whatever the case may be. So what is going on in these in these child-based sports that character is not being built in our kids to prevent a kid from calling another kid the N-word and stuff like that, and to prevent from fights breaking out and things of that nature.
I think there's a lot of character development going on, especially in this situation on both ends.
Because my man learned not to say that word.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
Development comes in.
Character was developed that day. Okay? There was some
a classroom can look different.
Okay.
The classroom.
You learned your lesson. You learned that you can't say what you want to say to people.
Right.
You learned that if you say something, you got to be ready for it to come back to you and be prepared for it.
And he learned how to take a cat nap.
You know what I'm saying?
All in one day.
You know, the other child learns that it's consequences to your actions.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody learned something. Character development went on both sides.
Both sides.
It don't matter how you look at it. Character development went on. But to think that I'm just gonna assume 15, 16. It's unrealistic to think that a 15, 16-year-old is gonna be mentally equipped to deal with racism that they may not experience believe is gonna happen to them at any point in time. If you for example, most white people have never experienced racism, and so you don't know what it feels like, and you're not gonna know how you're gonna respond when it happens to you. Everybody used to always say, like, I wish somebody would call me the N-word or something like that. Until it happens to you,
right?
And you don't know, you may not know how to respond. You might not know how you're gonna. Am I gonna elevate? Am I gonna take this too far? How am I gonna respond in this situation? If you've never dealt with that, to expect a teenager to be able to have the mental fortitude and the process and to be able to be like, this is probably not the best way for me to handle this situation.
That's a really good point.
I think that's utterly ridiculous. I
think
the expectations
it has nothing to do with character development.
Nothing to do with character development at all. And what does the N-word have to do with basketball? Don't get mad at me because you're losing.
Right.
Because you trying to box me out and you're not strong enough and you lose and you losing. Now I'm an N-word. You know, now I'm a monkey. Now I'm a whatever. And how do you handle that? How do you deal with that? So the people never care about what happened to you. They only care about how you respond. So you get the hoodlum because you responded to something that happened to you. Nobody care about what happened before that. And I know what that feels like. That happens to me often. People do something to me and I do something back, but I get all the heat for how I responded.
Because you responded.
Like, y'all ain't saying nothing to what they did to me. This is reactive. I didn't start this situation.
But yeah, even the comments though, reactive, because they don't know that young man's story, situation, whatever. And that's why I said that we don't really engage. We just go what we visually see. And oh my God, I can't believe he did that on the back. Again, as Mel said, I hear it on the court all the time. You know what I mean? Like words that are said to opposing players, stuff like that. And you also have to look at the optics. It looked like it was a predominantly Caucasian team.
It was
playing a black
predominantly
team.
Black team.
And it always has that undertone.
Yeah. Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So and the whole like the mindset of hoodlums, they don't belong. It's a basketball court.
Everybody belongs.
I mean,
here.
like, you know what I'm saying? So so those kinds of things continue to perpetuate the rhetoric behind it. But it was some lessons learned that day. Even his teammate. I know I can't come try to rescue Johnny at all times because homie out here throwing him, you know, all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
But as far as like the coaches go, speaking from experience as a coach, obviously there are coaches that go too far with some of the language and how they speak to the kids and stuff like that. But if you've been a coach with these YNs that exist today,
you have some of them.
Some of them, bruh, you ain't got no choice. Like the way that they're being raised at home, some of them don't have active parents. Some of them live with their grandparents. You know, some of them are in different situations where they don't have a dad that is going to talk to them sternly at home or whatever. So they come to practice. They don't listen to nobody. They act how they want to act. They talk how they want to talk. They don't got no respect for titles, rules, direction, and none of that. And they just, you know, they think they run the show or whatever it is. And how do you deal with someone who's uncontrolled like that when you see yourself, aside from being a coach, at some point you're going to see yourself as a man first. And if you feel like a young man or whoever is challenging your manhood, your response may not in that moment be of the professional sense.
Yeah.
It's like you talking to me like we on the street.
Yeah.
So if we on the street, now we got to do, you know, street things. And that's how a lot of these, you know, kids operate, unfortunately. Like they don't, like, it's pros and cons to the YNs. Like, I respect them. They not afraid of nothing. These new kids, they not afraid of nothing. So that's how they talk the way they talk at school. That's why they act the way that they act when they on a team, talking to their coach, talking to people in the community. They're not afraid of nothing. Consequences don't come to them a lot of times the way that they have come to us in the past. That's why they have nothing to fear.
Mhm.
And the way that the school structure and stuff is set up now, where it's like a lot of things about behavior is being overlooked because those who sit in administration are trying to play numbers games with suspension rates of Black and brown children and stuff like that. So things that would get you sent home now get you sent back to class because they need to look good on paper or something
That's
like
a
that.
thing?
Yes, that's a thing. So if now you're in a situation where teachers are trying to correct behavior and they have no control of the students because I send them to you or I call a resource officer or something like that, and then you send them back to me to keep your numbers intact. Now you've taught the kids that they don't have to listen to me.
Right, no
they can treat me how they want to
consequences.
treat
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
They
yeah.
can they can say what they want to say and still show up and play on the team, still show up and participate in after school activities, still do all these things. So it's not necessarily the coaches where you like the coach need to be better than the coach. No, we need to get control these kids.
Mm.
We need to get these kids in line. We
Mhm.
need to have someone who's gonna, talk strongly to them and accountability and consequences for your actions and stuff like that. And that does not happen, for a lot of people. So then you start trying to figure out, well, what works for him? Because if I can't talk to you like this without you getting an attitude, if I can't raise my voice, if I can't meet you where you are without some type of, a crazy response, a sideways remark or attitude, so like, what is going to get your attention?
Yeah.
How do I get your attention? So it's like, it's not necessarily always the coaches. Sometimes it is these kids and trying to deal with them. And the parents don't care because that's, for some of them, that's like their break. They bring them to practice and leave. Like they drop them off like, thank God he got practice. Let me go find something else to do. Let me go. So they leave. Sometimes you can't find them. You trying to call them. They already know they can't control them no way. Sometimes they bring them and be like, I don't know what to do with him. I don't know what to do with him. I done tried, sometimes the mothers come. That like legit, they'll come to you with their son and look you in your face and say, I've been trying to talk to him about X, Y, and Z. He's still doing it. I don't know what to do with him. And everything I've tried don't work. He acting out at school. He this, he that, or whatever. And they bring him to you to deal with in a sense. So then it's like, well, if you ain't listening to your mama,
I will make you think
if
you're
you ain't
listening
listening
to
to your mama, what, in some ways, what am I going to be able to do to get your attention? How am I going to be able to adjust your behavior, or stuff like that? And that I've been in plenty of coaching situations where it's like the moms don't have no help. They don't have no resources. The boy don't got a dad, or they broken up and the dad don't participate, or whatever the reasoning is. A dad is not present and they looking like, I don't know what to do with him. Like show me what to do. So it's like, it's not always the coaches. Sometimes it's these kids for real. And what they dealing with that if you can't understand or you can't speak to, or don't take the time to understand and speak to, then they feel unheard, they feel unseen, so they act out, their behavior is off, all type of stuff. It's a lot of things that they dealing with. So, it ain't always the coaches. I just want to say that. What, Lace?
I just appreciate when you start using inclusive language. It just,
What did he say? What did he
Feel
say?
seen,
Uh,
heard,
acknowledging individuals being unheard, unseen, trying to find pathways for them to be heard. And it's just like I said, I just sit back and observe and absorb.
I'm talking about kids.
I understand that, but either way, kids are humans.
They are. I just got a different. I just got a different heart for the youth. I got a different heart for the youth,
and that's
than I
all
have
good
for grown people.
And that's all good. And maybe that's where if that's where your passion lies, that's great. But you're still moving the work forward. So thank you for your contribution. That's all I'm saying.
I appreciate you.
That's all I'm saying.
Where do you think your compassion for the youth came from? Outside of is it anything outside of your kids?
I think it has a lot to do with my personal experience as a child.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where my passion comes from, particularly for young men as well. Like going through a lot of things I went through as a child, often feeling unseen, unheard, no one taking time to really meet me where I am, no one really taking time to understand why I may be angry. Growing up in a split home, not understanding my family dynamic, wondering why I don't have the same, family structure set up as some of the people that's around me, or whatever it is, going through that situation, having to grow up faster than I would like to be able to, take care of my other siblings and things like that, while feeling like no one is really, taking care of me outside of providing me roof and clothes and stuff like that. So it's just like, going through that process and constantly having people, talking about my responses to things and not necessarily what has happened to me, and dealing with that and not really listening to me. So I grew up like, all right, no one gonna listen to me anyway, so I ain't gonna listen to y'all. So then I'm acting out. I'm doing whatever. I'm doing what I want to do in a sense. I was the YNs, basically, I would say, because, that's just how it was for me. But also watching over time, my dad take the role of investing in other people's sons who may not have a dad or whatever it was. Once he started coaching, like once I started going through challenges with sports and stuff like that, my dad started coaching my teams because when I was younger, I played baseball, as y'all know, but baseball is very much a white man's sport, especially back then. It wasn't popular for black kids to be playing baseball. You know what I'm saying? Especially where I was in the hood at that time before my dad got bread and stuff. We moved into the suburbs. It wasn't popular. So kids would, the black kids would make fun of me because I should have been playing basketball. I should have been playing football, but I was playing, who the hell play baseball? So they would make fun of me about playing baseball, whatever. But then when I go to practice, no, legit, Lace laughing, but I'm like,
I just had a thought that came to mind, like what one of the kids would say to you as far as like picking on you or whatever. That's all.
So yeah, they would make fun of me about playing baseball. Then I would go to play baseball and be either always the only black kid there or one of two black kids. There was never more than two black people on my team growing up in my life. So then going over there with them and then them looking at me like I don't belong, treating me like I don't belong, saying sideways comments to me. Part of the reason that my dad started coaching was because no matter what team I was on, even if I was the best, I wasn't playing. Not because I wasn't good, but because I was black. They didn't want me to play.
Really?
They would not play. They would not play me, bro. I was the best. I've always been the best. I worked harder than everybody else. I had the talent from, what I'm saying? I was always the best. And they wouldn't play me because I was black. So my dad started coaching just so I could have an opportunity to play. So because of that, there were other kids in similar situation like me, black kids who wanted to play or other kids who didn't have parents with money that could put them in AAU or stuff like that. It became like this thing with kids who had limited resources where I watch him invest in other people's kids and give them an opportunity to do stuff and watch him develop other young men and things like that. I got a bunch of friends now that like they call my dad because they didn't have one and he opened himself up, opened himself up to them and welcome them in. So even to this day, they like, yo, what dad is doing, or they check on him and stuff like that. So watching him take the time in combination with my experience kind of gave me the blueprint to be like, all right, I'm focused on trying to help develop these young men because they may not have it or they may not see it, or, most people don't care about them because especially when you talk about young black men, and y'all see it all the time, once we reach a certain age, people think that we men and we supposed to just figure it out.
Yeah.
We're men earlier than everybody else. So if a kid is in college and he's 19 and he make a mistake and he's a white kid, it's like, oh, he's still a kid. He got time to learn. He making mistakes. A black kid, 19, do something similar or less. It's like, you a grown man. You should know better. Your punishment is that of a man or whatever it is. So that's why I feel like my heart is more for young men than adults, especially knowing what they deal with and a lot of the lenses that people use in their direction. So that's where it comes from.
I too want to be a coach one day. I think it's a great way to connect with kids. And I grew up and I love my, even though I wasn't good enough to play, I loved my coach interaction back in the day. It made me specifically in college when I did get to play. My coaches made me feel like a man, and they taught me things that I should have learned as a kid. That I didn't have a father figure to teach me. So the fact that you have a desire for that, that's what's up.
Yeah, and it goes both ways too, though. Having a desire to do the work, but also as a young man, seeing the pathway of if I listen to this voice that is telling me do X, Y, Z, and you can be successful, and showcasing from action that you can be successful in this way. It helps. It goes a long way.
I mean, we all need coaches. I still feel like even at the age I am right now,
oh, big facts.
I need a coach. You know what I'm saying? So, back in the day, Bishop Sykes had told me one time about structuring my life in a way that is complete in terms of relationships, kind of saying that one of the responsibilities of us is, as men, is to kind of layer our lives and our interactions and our relationships in a sense where you have someone above you who can coach you and carry you to where you're trying to go, and to have people on your level or peers who are in a similar situation to you, but also have people who you can pull up as well. So I kind of I had never thought about it that way until he said it. So I kind of have lived by that ever since, trying to consistently, layer my life in terms of just having a coach, having a North Star, someone that I could point to, look to, or whatever it is, because I still feel like it's necessary, you know what I'm saying, to be honest with you. And I think the reason why I'm more compassionate about, or not compassionate, the reason why I feel like have more compassion for youth, young men, especially ones without dads, is because even having an active father and seeing what it feels like, there's still certain days where I'm dealing with stuff, and it's like, if I could just talk to my dad,
Mm-hmm.
I'll feel better about the situation.
Mhm.
Like, and then once I talk to him, I feel way better about the situation.
Yeah.
So I'm like pushing 40 years old, and I'm like, if I still feel like that right now, how does someone feel who's never had that experience, that doesn't have that? If I could just talk to my dad real quick, you know what I'm saying? So it'd be like, that's why I feel like I have more patience for it than most people, where it's easier for me to meet them where they are than to deal with a grown person who's, stuck in their ways or unwilling, and they have, potentially more resources or access than some of these other people.
Bro, I could tell you how it feels. You could be 40 years old and still feel as though you need that male parental guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Still trying to seek it. when we were looking for churches, I was looking for a pastor who could be like a father to me. And that didn't end up working out because all the old pastors is they gone now. The pastors our age, the pastor in churches. So, it's tough to find someone in that area. And then you want to have the people who have been father figures in your life at some time, but it feels as like, if you're in different stages of life, how can you really be of some assistance? And so that void, I'm not even gonna hold you, bro. That void of not having a father figure is, or that coach or that guidance or whatever, is sometimes just feel like you just floating out there on the wind. And so then what you end up doing is you compare yourself to your peers to let them be your coach, but they don't even realize that's what they're really doing. So let's say, for instance, they make a step left, and you follow them, but you really supposed to go right. They doing what's best for them, but what's doing best for them is not right for you. And so now you're like, well, dang, who do I follow? And it just adds more to the void of not having a father figure in your life. So yeah, I could definitely attest to that. That is necessary to get that.
Yeah,
because it'd be good to have a male, or older male, call you every once in a while. Hey man, how you doing? You treating your wife well?
In on you.
Yeah, you treating your wife well? All right, what you doing with your money? All right, what's your next move? All right, cool. Talk to you later. And that it ain't even gotta be that deep. You ain't gotta ask me about my feelings. You ain't gotta ask me about my emotions. You ain't gotta ask me about nothing, but just check in on me to make sure I'm doing well. And the crazy part is, bro, I'm trying to do this for somebody, and they're pushing away because they are engulfed in their friend group. And they also got to a point of where they don't see the appreciation for male authority. And I get it, because I was at one point in my life, I was anti-male authority myself. I still be fighting it to this day. I want it, but I don't want it. It's like, but how can you have both, Troy's? I don't know. Because when you're not used to it, you push away from it. And so it hurts when you're trying to feed the youth and then they don't want to take the feeding.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you, in terms of like checking and coaching and those type of things, and I can ask both of y'all this because y'all in a similar situation as me, as an older brother, how do you handle that when it comes to like your younger siblings? Do you view yourself as, their coach, or or you're their quote unquote pull up, or, whatever it is, like when it comes to, y'all's younger brothers, stuff like that, are y'all reaching down, to them, or are you kind of waiting for them to reach up to you to, how do y'all navigate those situations? And I'll tell you after y'all answer me or whatever.
Yeah, I think for me, you can encompass multiple pieces to that puzzle. You can be a coach, mentor, because as mentioned earlier, there's different life experiences due to age gap. So I've experienced this. You go through this. This is what it looks like. So that's coach and mentorship, but also looking at it from pulling up and being a peer as well. Like there's opportunities where maximizing my brother's experience and what he has done, and that we're peers in this particular said avenue. So I think it can be a plethora of all three, just depending on stage, pathway, what that looks like across the board. So I think it'd be a bit of all three.
Yeah. So with my brother, I'm for those who are new to Manly D's podcast, if y'all don't know the story, my brother was actually my cousin for the first 9 years of 10 years of my life, nine of his, whatever. However that math that happens, it works out. But we were cousins, and then they told us that we were really brothers, and so we lived in separate households. We didn't really have a brother, little brother type of relationship because we weren't around each other too much. And then when we got the opportunity to travel, with us being able to drive and stuff like that, and being able to see each other more, right around that time, I got saved, and I was more radical than I was personal, and so it kind of deteriorated the relationship between us because my brother and my cousins saw me as being very judgmental. And so and we say this all the time. If you do something one time, that's who you are forever. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of been I've been trying to gain that older brother type of I don't type of relationship by trying to do positive reinforcement as of right now, and encouragement, and stuff of that nature. So with the hopes that I can be able to do that. So with my little bro, it's been really tough. However, I have developed other little brothers who aren't necessarily got the same blood as me. And so with those relationships, we definitely are able to benefit from the big brother type of relationship from that. And, we're always there for each other, encouraging each other, pointing each other in the right direction and things of that nature. And a lot of times it is sought after, like little bro is actually looking for information from big bro, and, so on and so forth. And in those situations, I really appreciate it, and I invite it.
Well, the reason why I asked is because, for those who are new to the Melodies podcast, following up to Troy, I'm the oldest of 6 kids, right? And I say I grew up in a split home because when I think I was 4 or 5 or something like that, my parents divorced or whatever it was. And both my parents are originally from Gary, Indiana. So at the time we were living in Alexandria because my dad was in the Marine Corps, whatever. That's where he was stationed. So when my parents split, my mother ended up moving back to Indiana where my parents were from. But through custody battles or whatever it was, my dad won custody of me and my sister. So we ended up living with my dad for most of my life. From that, though, both my parents went off on their own and had 2 sons each. So then I gained 4 brothers in total. So by proximity, I grew up with my dad's 2 other sons because we were all under the same roof. So the older brother, younger brother dynamic is a little bit more present with them just by nature of all of us being in the same, all of us being in the same place. But even with that, at times it was still difficult because our age gap was so wide. Like by the time my dad got remarried and all that type of stuff and had those kids, I was 12 turning 13 years old. So I'm like almost out the house as they're being born. So by the time I'm grown, like of age and stuff like that, I move out, I'm grown, I'm, on my own, whatever. And then there's an 8-year gap between me and my closest brother, 12, 13, 14 year age gap between the rest of us. So at times, I feel like I've struggled to know how to be a big brother in the best way possible, other than being a coach because of the dynamic of how we grew up, because I have 2 brothers that I didn't even get to live with. So then sometimes I feel like, not that I can't be a big brother, it feels like I can't, because how am I going to come into a space that I wasn't even in,
Yeah,
and try
yeah.
to treat you like little bruh.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like treat you
Right,
like
yeah,
little
well, you
bro.
can't.
Until, you know, like so yeah. So it's like trying to figure out how to navigate. And it's like, you know, how do I, you know, try to reach down or try to coach someone, and I didn't grow up in a proximity with them and things like that. So because there wasn't cell phones and all that stuff when we were kids, we weren't in our ability to control our relationship and how we interact with each other like we can as adults, like to be able to pick up the phone and FaceTime and all that. So if it wasn't our parents setting up a conversation for us to talk, or if it wasn't one of those instances where we were visiting, we were all in the same place together, you didn't talk to each other.
Yeah.
So then you get accustomed to not talking to each other because that was your normal. So at times I feel like it's a struggle to navigate, knowing when to coach, knowing when to brother, how to do that. And it's like I really want to do that because they're my family. I don't really look at them as half. We share the same blood. They're not my half brothers. They're my brothers and stuff like that. And I don't want to say that they're resistant in a way. It's just that sometimes it feels like
You the ON.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's not.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
I think you can't really, just based upon the categories, it's more so let's develop an organic relationship or continue to cultivate that. And if there are opportunities to coach, I'm just giving you game. Take it how you want. But I've lived this. I have this experience. I'm just telling you, bro, just from a brother, being a brother to you. So I think it's really based upon the continuing to develop the relationship, and there may be opportunities to, again, coach, maybe opportunities to view each other as a peer or whatever, as well as pull up in some instances. So I think that it's the experience is multifaceted. So it's not just like, I'm just because I'm older, because I only have one sibling, but saying, just because I'm older, I'm the big bro, I'm always coach you. Nah, there's some things I can learn from you, and But so I think that it's really based upon how we cultivate and grow relationship at the core. Yeah, at the core of it.
And that's as it has been my approach, is like, hey man, bring me into your world. Like my brother has taught me a lot. He taught me how to play chess, only for him to beat me every time we play. He taught me backgammon. My brother has taught me a lot of things, and I want to allow him to feel comfortable teaching me, with the hopes that I could be able to give it back to him one day.
And it's relational, man.
Yeah.
It's relational.
I appreciate y'all.
Yeah.
Man.
That was what we'll call this episode. Am I my brother's keeper?
Yes, I am.
Yes, I am. I love that. Hey guys, appreciate y'all rocking with us.
Hey.
Yeah.
It's your boy Troy, Life Coach Lace, Melly Mel's, the Manly D's podcast. We out.